But welcome back. This is episode 6, I think, of Let's Get It Poppin', which is my little side project that has to do with all things competitive popper, EDH, commander, whatever you call it. Once again, joined by my kinda co-host, Kunx, aka Franklin, and then once again we are joined by Chris, aka Gator, because we are here to do some deck tech and or theory crafting discussion based on a list that I just put together. But then we also have another list that I put together before I took my long ass break. And then Gator has his own version, so we thought we might compare notes on that as well. He also made a version of this deck, which he can reference as he wishes. Franklin doesn't necessarily have any investment in either deck at this point, but
I did a lot of testing for the Kheru Goldkeeper.
Yeah, he helped me be my guinea pig, nice. Brutally honest.
That's honestly like my biggest contribution to this format. Gator builds decks and me and him go like, all right, we're going to do 10 hands each. All right, here's your results, here's my results.
So, well, then I guess you have more experience with that. This list, literally I've played twice, 3 times, I think. How many I think we played 2 games that day, on the last stream. Anyhow, if you guys watched the last stream and or VOD and or the most recent edited gameplay on the channel, you'll see the 3 of us and our other friend Yami play. I'm playing this deck, and they're playing some of the other stalwarts of the format. I won't spoil anything, but the deck did well. It performed admirably. A lot better than the time that I played it off camera, which was my Virgin Voyage or whatever you want to call it. So anyhow, the new list that I have built is called Biomechan Engineer. It's an uncommon from the Edge of Eternity set, or Edging Till Eternity. What was it, Franklin?
It's just edging.
So, edging happened, and I finally finished the deck, and then played it a bit. And so, I think it's got some legs. It's a new Simic commander. So, costs the same as what? Kinnan? But
Gretchen. Same as Gretchen.
Yeah, same as Gretchen.
Gracios.
Yeah, it's got that same power creep, at least for the popper format, because it's just the green and the blue. It's a 2/2 insect artificer, and when it ETBs, it creates a new token, which is called a lander, which is an artifact that has pay 2 generic, tap, sacrifice this token, search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle. So it does your Evolving Wilds fetch, but it's on an artifact token, so things can copy that. If you blink this guy, every time he ETBs or every time you recast him, you're going to get a land back. So like he kind of cheats on the tax a bit too, which is kind of cool. More importantly, he has an outlet from the command zone for infinite mana. Notably too, that something we didn't talk about when we were reviewing it in the set. It's generic mana. It's 8 generic, where Gretchen actually costs the colored pips. Not that should matter, because you're making infinite mana either way, but it's notable that you might be able to ramp into that a little bit easier without needing the pips. So for 8 colorless, you draw 2 cards, create a 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token. I thought this was notable because, well, Gretchen, Weavers, etc., the titans of the format, so to speak, are in these colors and do the same sort of thing, where they, in the case of Weavers, one half of the Weavers kind of sort of ramps you because it untaps lands. The other Weaver draws your cards. Both of these things are kind of stapled onto this. With Gretchen, it's the same thing. You can play the extra land or whatever and draw a card. So it costs double the activation, which is kind of a downside. And body not quite as good, being a 2/2. But it only costs 2 mana. And it can do some stuff. So my thought, I cheekily called it, Gretchen, I'm coming for you, because I thought that was funny. Is it as good? TBD, I suppose. I think that it's got legs, though, and having played it already, it does similar things, but then it has, some backup potential win cons as well. So, where are you guys at with this deck? What are your initial thoughts?
If I could take the lead here real quick, I think something that is very notable. So I got a little thing I'm just going to put a pin in here real quick to mention, and then we could discuss this here a little bit later. I did actually say this with you, Izlain, was I think we should call it Tatiova, I'm just better than you. Because, well, we'll get to that later. I'm going to delve into it here real quick. This just kind of invalidates Tatiova, as crazy as that is to actually say out loud. But jumping back to the original points that you were making, Izlain, I really want emphasis on one thing that none of the others could do, which I want to say why you would choose to play this specifically over any of the others. And Izlain, you actually learned this the hard way, or the winning way, I would call it, in this circumstance, was the token, the 2/2 body that this commander makes is so incredibly relevant for when you play against like sacrifice decks.
Edict,
Specifically, I mean, you're a Sivers player just like I am. And I mean, you're like the Sivers guy. So you know how many
I barely fucking play it anymore, but I know how important they are to the deck.
Yeah. So you know what I'm talking about. And it's so easy to relay this information to you that 2/2 robot is. We need to emphasize on why that 2/2 robot is so good. Even Franklin saw it himself. What are your thoughts on that, Franklin?
Yeah, just making a body whenever you need to for 8 mana. Well, technically, it's draw a card and make a body
It's
for
2
8
cards.
mana.
2 cards. It's draw 2.
Yeah, oh my god! Yeah, never mind. The drawing the 2 cards is already. Yeah, the drawing 2 cards is already on rate with the Blue Weaver, and you get a free body out of it. That's all right. Cool. That's amazing.
I just wish we had access to black or even red just to have the extra, like, use it for sacrifice fodder as well. But I mean, you're already able to manipulate drawing cards pretty well in Simic, so.
Yeah, the biggest issue with that would just be like you're already in 3 colors, and you're like the third color you're splashing is going to get diluted, and you're not going to be able to focus on generating all the mana.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, it's just I'm greedy and want everything.
So to be fair, actually, if we could actually discuss that exact statement, Izlain, I think you actually get more with this deck than you get with the other lists. So hear me out. I know I'm going to sound like a little bit of a lunatic here real quick. And this is one reason why I believe that this is better than Tatiova. This could do the freed from the real things, right, with your land untappers and things of that nature. Unlike Gretchen and unlike Weavers, where you're playing like a Archaeomancer, this actually gets to play the entire Archaeomancer suite. And because you get to do that, well, like, that's awesome. So you actually get to be both of the decks kind of fused into one and have some sort of self-protection, which I think is like so incredibly relevant. We've never had a commander that's able to eat both of these. Some people would argue that Lily Splash Mentor was that commander, but sorcery speed, it's not the outlet, it's the way you win. So you can make infinite mana have no outlet and you're just like staring at the wall, right? This is not that way.
And if you can make infinite mana, it notably isn't part of the infinite mana creation. It can help ramp you a little bit, and I am packing in a few of the single and even flicker, just because of that, being able to ramp yourself a little bit to get to his activation cost to make those bodies and draw the cards. My first thought, really, where the relevance of those bodies came in was, and I really wish that there was more ways to do this, but I was like crashing Drawbridge, because if you can have that out already, and then like you got this guy out, you got that out, you get a land untapper down or 2. You start doing the thing. You're like, I'm going to start activating, and then, you get a little ways into it, and maybe you get stopped, or you try to win with something, and they counter it. They couldn't stop your activations, but they can stop that, right? So then you're like, shit, well, I can't win with my combo, but look, I have this army of robots, and I can just tap this trashing drawbridge, swing out, and potentially kill people. It's not, obviously the winning strategy, but it is something that you can fall back on. And that's something that I thought that all of those other Simic decks we're talking about kind of have as a weakness, because they usually only are packing in dorks and creatures they're not trying to swing with. So having the little 2/2 bodies to swing around is kind of also something that kind of gives it a different edge, I think.
Yeah, that is a problem that I tend to have with Weavers, where I'm just like, everyone, I don't know what you guys worried about me for. I'm everyone's punching bag.
Yeah,
I'm going to die before I can win.
How many times have we killed Gretchen the same way?
Yeah, I mean, I would make an argument. Weavers is the weakest one of the group when it comes to like alternate win conditions, but I would also make the same argument in the opposing side of the spectrum that it's the weakest because the win is in the zone, so you don't have to fill your deck with these cards, which, once again, I would make that for this deck, where I say, well, your win is in the zone. We don't even have to play win conditions in this list, because if I just make, just like Abdel, right? I make a million 2/2s, and I have my deck in my hand. What are you supposed to do to me at this point?
Right.
Like, I stop you from playing the game, and I stop you from playing the game. I stop you from playing the game. My turn, swing outright, game ends.
Yeah, that's kind of where I am with it. As far as like the overall utility, I guess we should probably. So there was, if you've watched that video that I mentioned earlier, our latest gameplay, there was not necessarily like a fuck up, but it was just like things happened in the game, and then it was like, oh well, we probably should roll that back. And you know, if you watch it, you'll know what we're talking about here. But I neglected to really explain how the deck wins. We just kind of said, yeah, you got it. But then we had a conversation about other stuff that was happening in the game. And then the video ends without having that sort of explanation. So I wanted to take a minute to just talk about the combos and how you can win. In the same way that basically all the other decks we've already talked about, the other Simic monsters, they all have, you know, a freed from the real sort of line. And what that usually requires is a land untapping creature, so it has an ability where it says, for instance, well, Arbor Elf is an easy one, untap target forest, but there's a bunch of them. This guy untaps lands, etc. So you have one of these guys out, and then you have some of your land enchantments, which all add additional mana. So if you get a couple of these on one land, usually it makes enough to where with Freed from the Wheel, which is this guy, an enchantment that you put on the creature, you only have to tap for your land only has to tap for what, 2? So as long as you can make it tap for 2 blue, you're good to go. And you slap this on your land untapper, and then you're tapping and untapping the land and generating 1 extra mana each time, creates an infinite loop, and then you can dump that mana into your commander and try to find a win from there. Wins being, as we described, the combat fallback. Otherwise, generally drawing your deck and having infinite mana means you can play everything. Wow, I'm feeling like a noob right now because I'm not thinking of my finisher.
So you have lots of finishers. It's table dependent, right?
Yeah.
So depends what we're trying to do, right? Your creatures have haste. So you have the ability to just play your Crashing Drawbridge, put a Strider Harness on it. Your 2/2 robots instantly just kill the table. You also have Evolution Witness, and you also have Implement of Ferocity. So you're able to bring back certain permanents in what order. You could just declare whatever you want. I'm not mistaken. This may be me talking off here, but I believe you have Deep Analysis.
Yeah.
I believe we both do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you just deep analysis your opponent's today.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, there's the other card that I was thinking of, the other one that makes somebody draw, and I can't remember the name of it, and I don't have it in here, so I was like, shit, what is the name of that card?
Yeah, so, and then the last but not least, but I don't know if you have it. I thought you did. Don't quote me. It's the aura that when it ETBs, it gives you the 2 lands, just like the other ones do, right? But it ventures into the dungeon, so you have the ability to venture. It goes away.
Yeah, I don't have that one, but that's a good idea. Well, so I shuffled a bunch of cards around. So what I actually played and what I've got on the list now is different. I've already added and subtracted. So yeah, there's probably stuff that I missed. What is the other card that I'm thinking of?
It sucks because like technically, like if you have time, you don't win, but that's a different problem.
Compulsive research, is that the one?
That's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah. I thought I had that in here. I may have, and then may have taken it off. Well, so there are options, and if you're drawing your deck, you can use those, and then obviously Archaeomancer them back, and blah blah blah. So
you also have Mystic Sanctuary, so
I included that as well. I'm not running all of the flickers. I'm only running Archaeomancer and the wall because I'm running the land, which arguably could be the same, but also could be worse.
Well,
I don't know.
You don't. So Mystic Sanctuary makes it to where you don't deck, so you can continue doing the loop. Yes.
Yeah, I put in the Crowd Relic as well, because if you do like Ghostly Flicker loops, it's just drawing you cards each time it comes in and out.
Okay.
He's got a lot of good loops in here.
They're all stacking. The thing is, yes, I may have. I didn't think about the land, but that's another interesting way, to get out of a sticky situation. I might have to slot that one in.
Let me hit you with one that I don't know if is real. I'm just going to literally brain fart on you guys here real quick, and I apologize for this. I think there's a way, hear me out. You could Ghostly Flicker your land with New Horizons specifically. So New Horizons is the aura, puts a 1/1 counter on a creature when it ETBs.
Yeah.
And if you blink it, you could replay it to target Evolution Witness, to re-blink it, to blink 2 other ones, and keep making mana in some weird, crazy loop. But
we also have High Tide, and we have Cloud of Fairies and Peregrine Drake, so there's lots of ways to make mana and loops that could be really complicated.
Exactly.
How are we blinking New Horizons?
So we would ghostly flicker the land and let it.
No, it won't.
It says, it's artifacts or creatures.
It says or lands.
Or lands.
Yeah, he was saying blink the land, and then the aura flickers off, and then
it goes into the yard. And then Evolution Witness will bring it back to your hand because you're going to put it back into play. You're going to do a whole bunch of different things because you're going to do it, right? It's going to come into play. And then you're going to go see Flicker. You're going to target the land. And you're going to target Archaeomancer. That's what I'm saying. This is like a crazy thought.
Oh, okay, yeah. And then, you already have like a whole bunch of mana by then.
So you're going to make the 2 mana, the trigger on the stack for the 1/1 counter on the Evolution Witness, blink them both. It comes back. It returns this. You get the counter. It brings this back. And you're going to be able
to... That's like the slowest, worst possible way to do that, but sure.
Well, it's another option, right? Like, it's just... There's so
That's why I put in the implement and the relic. Because there's just ways that those things can just draw your deck, and if you have all your cards in your hand, you're most likely going to be able to put together a win, especially if you're able to make. Because at that point, you just slap shit down and start making mana.
You can't draw your deck. You have to find a way to win without netting more cards, because you will lose the game.
Right. Yeah. But you draw to a point, right? And then you're like, okay, now I have it. It's like ad nauseam. It's poor man's ad nauseam. 50 cent ad nauseam. Yeah, so with that wasn't probably a very clear explanation, but those of you who've been playing in the Sphere for a while, you'll understand. We could break those combos down a little better, but the general idea is there's a billion ways in here to make infinite mana, and then from there you can draw as many cards as you need to get the pieces to get a win. Normally, as Gator said, you're probably going to... I might put one of those other cards in too, but you could Deep Analysis to make everybody draw their decks so they lose instead of you. Otherwise, you can do the combat trick if you have Crashing Drawbridge out already. That's pretty much the end of how it happens. It's just getting there, and that's what I like about this deck, is that there's a lot of different moving parts, and finding your way to victory is going to be different, I think, pretty much every time, unless you're just, lucky, or you just hone it. I can see where you could focus this and just be like, okay, it's just Ghostly Flicker Loop and Freed from the Real, and that's it, and then focus everything else around just protecting that. But I think it's more fun to have more options. So
even if you go see Flicker Loop and Free from the Real, you still need the actual payoff. That's the problem.
Wait, what do you mean? No. The payoff is the commander.
Yeah, but you only have so many activations as a commander.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the other problem that I would see, just that you have only... I do the math. But
if you think about it, though, I don't see Weavers or Gretchen win any other way either. They get their mana tappers, they get a freed, and they go ham, and they just figure it out. And it's usually draw everybody out. So, like I said, I might need to add in at least one of those other cards that does that, and then maybe that land, like you said, that can make you venture to where you can bounce that back and forth.
Yeah, I think the capsize venturing loop is the easiest one, because you just go capsize it back, have infinite mana, play it again, loop forever, you're good to go.
Yeah, I think capsize loop might be a little bit better, because again, you're not limited on just I have no cards left in my deck, because they sequence this poorly, which will happen to someone, and I want to be there when it happens.
That definitely can happen. I do think that there may need to be a little bit more as far as the finishers go added to here. Capsize, I think I had it on the list at some point. I've got a history here. Let's see.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's 17. It's 17 pages long, so I've done some stuff. So yeah, obviously this is kind of still in that rough draft, early stages of development. I had an initial build. I played it. I saw weaknesses and things to change. I guess most recently was adding in Trinket Mage, because that can grab Spell Bomb or the Implement, which is a potential combo piece. I added in the Malevolent Rumble. I kind of think that there's room to maybe play a couple more of these types of spells too, just to dig. But the slots are getting tight. I added an Impulse, I added in Get Probe, but I think they were already there. I took out the Shipwreck Dowser, I took off Frantic Search, but Frantic Search is also another Ghostly Flicker type of thing that could be good too for more redundancy. But I'd probably put in the compulsive research first. I actually need to add that.
Well, I'd make a little bit of a statement, dude, because like let's be honest, like even with improvements being made to the deck, the initial build that you already have is already like incredibly promising, which is hard to say for a lot of decks that we play in the format as it is, right? Some decks need like a lot, right? This one didn't need that much. And
it felt like it kind of built itself in a way.
Yeah, exactly. And you're already like threatening wins on turn 6, like pretty early on,
which is relatively impressive for the format as a whole. So
yeah, I mean, like I said, work in progress, but it does seem like it has some legs. Further testing will tell. And this isn't a comprehensive, like, this is how you play this deck and it's the best thing ever. It's more of just okay, this is where I'm at right now. Lands are kind of low. I'm that kind of player, but, maybe we might want to increase the lands. I just didn't think it was that important because, for 2 mana, you just get a land. Or for 4 mana, I guess.
Yeah, like the commander says ETB, get a land whenever you want.
And it comes in tapped, but it does happen. This also doesn't say at fucking sorcery speed, which I love.
Yeah.
So you could literally, at any point, just be like, just activate and do the things, but then also like, blink him, and then he comes down, you get another one. Getting lands out shouldn't be a problem. So I think that...
Oh, you know what? It's like a fixed Golos.
Sort of, yeah.
I really do like the commander overall. Like, when I first looked at it, I have to say, I was like, this is garbage. And then me and Franklin talked about it, and Franklin said, this is worse than garbage. And I was like, dang, bro, you're mean.
Yeah, and then I was like, hey, we're doing the set review. I want to talk about it because it looks good. And he was like, okay. And then I started talking, and he was like, oh, okay, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't take that much to convince me. It's like, hey, look at this. What if we took out Gretchen and put this thing in? Or like...
And that's basically what I did. I looked at Weaver's decks, I looked at Gretchen decks, and I was like, all right, let's just smash this shit together and see what sticks. I feel like I've hit on a couple other decks that I've built in the past, so like, fingers crossed this one tends to be pretty good too, and if you're interested, I will make sure that the link to the list is in the description, and you guys can comment there, comment here, wherever. But yeah, pilot it yourself. Take it for some test runs on the playtester. I mean, you can instantly go and play some hands real quick, real easy, and see how it does.
Yeah, and if you don't want to go look at the deck list, just build it as, hey, what's my favorite combos in Simic, and just throw it in here and you'll be fine.
Literally. Simic kind of builds itself, especially in this format. It is one of the stronger things you can be doing. It's up there, it's that and Izzet are like the top S tier decks, right? So, and despite us being kind of more drawn to like the traditional tier list and, having some subjectivity and some opinions and emotions involved in what you think is the best and what isn't, and then anecdotal experience, blah, blah, blah. But the numbers don't lie either, because there are points of data out there, and those things that we put in the S tier belong in the S tier, right? So I'm trying to get this thing to a point where it can compete and at least be top end of A, but maybe pushing towards S. I want to see it do that. So we're going to keep testing it. Gator's already got himself a little variant that he's probably going to start playing around with too. So yeah, you guys will see it around. And if you want to take it for a spin, feel free to borrow the list, copy it, do what you will. And good luck to you. Any other closing thoughts on this one before we move on? We have another list that we wanted to talk about as well.
No, I think that's a lot said. I know we were relatively vague with a few of the things, but I think that's due to the fact that you're able to do a lot of these things, and it's going to be hard for players to be like, I will play the flicker combo, or I will not play the flicker combo, right? Like,
I think you can do that optionally as well. Like, there are ways, like I said, you could hone it in on just flicker combo, or you could hone it in on just freed combo, and then add in more protection, interaction, etc.
Yeah, and that's what I like about the deck. You just you play whichever half you get.
Yeah, I do like Izlain's list specifically. Not here to like kind of toot your own horn, Izlain, but I like your list a lot because you have like a smash between them both, and I really do appreciate that you have both halves to be able to give yourself an out in certain scenarios. And I think that's actually what makes a list very strong, to have the different pivot points that allows you to move from one.
He said it. He said the thing.
What
the pivot. I was going to say it too. We are builders who like to pivot. I've been that way because I've been playing CDH for you too. So like playing CDH for years, you see the same deck and you're like, but what if I did it this little bit different? And oh wow, great success. Or whoops, that fucked it all up. So I do like that too. But I could see easily where you could hone it in on either strategy, or there's probably other cuts that could be made. Maybe you don't like certain untapper or certain. I definitely had all the land enchantments in and then honed them down to which ones I felt were the best. I did miss the dungeon diving one, but anyhow, we've been at it for close to 30 minutes. I figured we could devote about 30 minutes to the other as well. So let's move on. Now, this one, prior to my hiatus, which was a couple months, too long for my taste, but I built this list before that because this is from the last set, the last Tarkir, our revisit to Tarkir again. Right, it was that set, right? I'm not misspeaking.
Yeah, okay. This is Dragon's Tarkir.
Yeah, so like me and Franklin reviewed the set, and I don't remember if we talked about this one that much. I think we might have, but memory is not going to serve me right now. But it's Kheru Goldkeeper. This card, obviously came out beforehand. People were talking about it. I saw chatter in your guys' server, other servers, and just around on the internet. So it wasn't just me that thought maybe this has something. We're looking at Gator's list here, and then I also have the compare pulled up because I brewed my list, never played it, so it's very rough draft. But when I looked, it's like 60 some cards different, which is like, holy shit, we look at this in a completely different way. But I also rough drafted it and never played it. Still have yet to play it, still want to play it, but you actually have, it says it right here, the final version that took over 13 variants in testing. Like, wow, this is
in paper.
This has gone through the wings a bit. So I'm going to let you take the lead on this one here, Gator, if you want to read off the card and then dive into the general overview of the list, and then we'll talk more.
Yes, you got it. It's going to be a little bit difficult to talk about the list, but let me just dive into the card. So we're discussing Kheru Goldkeeper. For one generic, a swamp, a forest, and an island, we're looking at a 4 CMC 3/3 dragon with flying, and whenever one or more cards leave your graveyard during your turn, create a treasure token. Now, the reason this is so relevant, actually, you know what? That is not the complete text on the card. The card actually has Renew, which is 2 generic, swamp, forest, island. Exile this card from your graveyard, put 2/1/1 counters, and a flying counter on target creature. Activate only as a sorcery. I was about to skip over that because it's
not used, but it could be a thing you could do at some point, maybe? Yeah, I don't know.
kind of worthless text on the card.
Yeah.
While we're actually looking at the card, the only thing we care about is where one or more cards leave your graveyard during your turn. Create a treasure token. The reason this is so incredibly relevant is, one, it's a way to win the game in our format. And it's a very, very unique ability. This card specifically has given ways to win with cards that have never had the ability to win with. And the reason that's so relevant is Tortured Existence, right? As an easy example, was a card that was already obviously good for our format, which let me go off of Tortured Existence, because it might not be the most known card. But Tortured Existence is a 1 CMC swamp enchantment. Pay 1 swamp. Choose and discard a creature card. Return target creature from your graveyard to your hand. The reason this is so relevant for the deck is when you discard a creature card, and then you will pull a creature card out of your graveyard, which
make a treasure.
The treasure token.
Oh, Gravecrawler, I wish.
Yeah, exactly, right? So you have the ability to infinitely loop a creature out of your graveyard. Most people will say, that doesn't do anything. Who cares? Well, the reason everyone cares is because we have tons of cards in our format that say Disciple of the Vault, right? Hackdaw Terror, Deer's Nightblade, Mirkwood Bats. We have just a plethora of cards that say when token or when artifact or when X thing happens, players lose life. So the ability to create the treasure just to use it to abuse it, guess what? Easy peasy.
Not only that, you have tons of other value besides just generating the mana or being able to perform various loops, which we'll dive into in a little bit. Oh, I'm a fucking idiot. Like Deadly Disputes.
Oh, he's a fucking idiot.
Oh, yeah.
Like you get the value of it just being a treasure, but then you also get the value of different loops that can just win you the game. But then just for at the floor, you have that option where you can sack it to like a Deadly Dispute or whatever and draw cards.
Cost and plunders.
Exactly.
Let's just dive into what your actual your ways to win? What are your combos? What's the game plan for the list?
So mine is a bit different. So I actually took a much different route. So one of the things that I did was I went with the full Archaeomancer plan. The reason I went with this plan was because I don't want my commander to just be a way to be a win con in the zone, but it's not even like a real win con. It's like the in-betweeny. It's a really wonky card. And I was having a lot of problems when I was playing the card because it either tried to win the game or it just sat there and then it just died. And then when I needed to win, it was like 10 mana and I couldn't cast it. And it was just garbage. So what I wanted to do was give myself a way to have incremental value with my commander being in play. And the way I went about this was just playing, which is weird to say about this format, but was to play the good cards of this format. And if we look at the way this format functions, the best cards of our format are the Archaeomancers, right? The Bold Drifters, right? Like these creatures specifically allow you to just play them, get a card back. That's already good value. That's what the other decks do. But with this deck, with my commander, I get that card back and a treasure. And then my flickers get a card back and a treasure. So it's essentially a cost reducer for all of my Archaeomancers, which other decks don't have that ability. So I was able to use that in conjunction with a shit ton of draw spells. And I say that because the problem I was having was I just ran out of juice because I was trying to kill my opponent's creatures. I was trying to counter all their spells. And I know most decks, players actively go, well, I need to stop players from doing A, B, C, and D. And I was like, my deck doesn't work if I'm like just sitting here going, kill your creature, kill that, counter that. I just run out of juice because my commander can't do anything more.
Right.
So the way I thought about this was, what kind of a loop can I create to just stop decks that attack? How do I stop like a mid-range pile, right? How do I stop this dude that goes, I could just attack you to death? And I was like, I got this. Spore Frog. Now, how do I make sure that Spore Frog comes back forever? And I developed a loop. Yeah, here's the mad scientist coming out. Aether Spellbomb, Fortuitous Find, Archaeomancer, and Spore Frog. Once I get to this point, my opponents can't ever attack me again because Aether Spellbomb returns Archaeomancer.
I mean, this is some of the same sort of theory that we had with like Cypress with Spore Frog, was just like they can never kill you.
So you just make it to where your opponents just go, I can't ever hit you. Good luck. And you make it this weird conglomerated loop. But here's the best part. Most people go, oh, that's like an 8 or 9 or however much. I don't remember the math off the top of my head. Let's just say 10 mana for argument's sake, right? Archaeomancer makes a treasure because it brings you X card back, which is Fortuitous Find. Then Fortuitous Find makes you treasure. So like all of these cards that would typically be 10 mana, right? Archaeomancer's 3 to do the thing. Then Fortuitous Find is 2 to do the thing. And then you're going to be pulling these cards out. So you're reducing the cost of your own spells with your Kheru to be able to provide this to yourself to hope, your opponents aren't just going to beat you to death.
Yeah.
I know it's in the weeds. I know it sounds ridiculous. But once again, jumping back to the original, why you play this deck to begin with, you have all the tutors. Tutors are very hard to come by in our format.
All the transmutes.
We got them all.
Yep.
They're all here.
Like,
we have
you got Mystical Teachings, you got Perplex.
We got them all. It's there. If I need part of this combo or I need part of anything, and I know you're just going to hit me, I go tutor for that. If I'm trying to win the game, I go tutor for Ashnod's. If I'm trying to do this, whatever other half I need to acquire, boom, I get it. That's the thought process on the list.
Let me pull up here. Here's the compare for those that are watching the video. So yeah, we are literally 66 cards different. So what is similar? Some of the draw spells, a couple of the counter spells, some of the removal. Yeah, all the tutors, those are the same. Archaeomancer is in mine as well. Okay, so I'm on more counter spells, which is like you said, you you did some testing and realized maybe you shouldn't have as much of it.
Oh, because the deck doesn't need to defend itself. If it just dies, you just go okay, cool. I did my thing.
My reasoning to begin with was just, have a couple counter spells to counter, the couple, win things that you can counter. And otherwise, if you're losing to a Gretchen or a Malcolm or anything else, you might not have it and you just lose, and that's fine. I do remember wanting to be able to also, kind of color fix. So I included a lot of the fetch lands and things that you didn't, just to be able to color fix. I'm also a Mystic Sanctuary. I'm on a few of the dorks. It looks like you're not on any of those pingers anymore. At least not currently, because I'm on Mirkwood and Nadier's Nightblade and the Pactile Terror.
I had to cut almost all the ways to win the game because what I noticed is once I got to a point where I needed to win, I could just go tutor the card I needed to win with, and then I won. And I only needed 2 in the deck to total because one was 1 mana, which was Disciple of the Vault. So if I had the other one, I would just put it in play because I had all these extra treasures. But if I didn't, I would just be like, loop, 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 loop. There's my Disciple, play it, keep going. Okay, you're dead now.
I was also looking at just like ways to like cheekily get value from the commander. So if he's already out and you're not like really in a winning state, but again, like you said, through testing, you found that like playing him out always felt bad if you weren't trying to win, or you were trying to win, you got stopped, and then he just gets killed, and then you're like, fuck, now that I've rebuilt, I can't recast him type of thing. So I did kind of focus on some of the this card, Wasteful Harvest, for instance. Mills 5 cards, but then you could put a permanent card from among the cards milled this way into your hand. So it goes to the grave and then comes out. You get the card plus a treasure. So I tried to like add some of those types of things in to just get the added value. But the main goal was basically just be able to flicker anything with like Tordex or any of the other loops and then have something out like the Mirkwood Bats or whatever. So every time a treasure comes down, you're pinging the table, and as long as you can make that a loop, game's over. So it's really just focused on getting one of those pingers and trying to win the game by creating a loop. So that was kind of my thought process, and I can see that you're doing the same thing. You just have definitely honed it in more.
To be fair, Wasteful Harvest is a good card. Like it's not a bad card. It's just where I went with the list. I tried it, as dumb as it sounds. Once again, I'll say it again and repeat it over and over because this is not something I believe in for the most part of the format as a whole. But for this deck, because of the commander, it breaks one of the rules that I always go by, and I just ended up playing the quote best cards, which is weird because I don't think we have a lot of staples of our format. But with the way this deck functioned, because of just generically what it does, these cards that I typically play in other decks were just stronger here due to the commander and what the commander does.
One thing that I'll say before we jump into these combos here, as I was saying with the Biomechan Engineer, it would be so nice to have that added black for like the Deadly Disputes and things for the Lander tokens. Well, this guy's got the same thing, and neither of us are playing Deadly Dispute or anything like it. And I was just like, that's something maybe we should be playing as an option to draw more cards, but not necessarily, important. But it's just kind of funny. Between the two decks, I built them very similarly. They're both toolboxes that just dig for these combos, and this one just happens to have black. And then I was like, the whole point I made about wanting black with the other deck is not even present in this list. So yeah, kind of silly. I might put Deadly Dispute in just for fun. But so my list, I included, my combos. So it's just thought I could run through them real quick so we know kind of what my focus was at, and then whether or not you think that these are worth having. So there's the obvious is the commander, Archaeomancer or Mnemonic Wall, and Essence Flux or flickers like that. You cast the essence, you target whichever Archaeomancer effect. It brings... Actually, this one requires both. You have one on the field and one in the grave, and you basically flicker to bring one back, and then return the Essence Flux, then get Essence Flux back because of the other trigger that's on the stack. Then your Kheru triggers, makes an artifact token, and then from there you can make infinite treasures. And this is going to be the same loop with, multitude of different ways in the deck. You're essentially just trying to make that infinite amount of treasures. And then if you combo that with any of the damage dealers where they come in or they leave, you're going to, your Mirkwood Bats, Pactile Terror, etc. Those are going to kill the table. That was the basic focus of the deck to begin with.
Don't forget the Not Dead After All you also have, to where you just replace Essence Flux for Not Dead. That actually drains the table.
I don't have it on the list, but that's a good consideration. I didn't even look at your deck until today just to compare it, and I was like, holy shit, 60 cards. So it was like, this is my focus. Your focus obviously was honed in because you actually played the fucking thing. Yeah. So the other combos are kind of secondary, but do the same sort of thing. Kheru Goldkeeper plus Evolution Witness plus Mere Scrappling is kind of the same thing as the Implement of Ferocity. Mere Scrappling gets sacked. When it dies, you put the counter on Evolution Witness. It comes back to your hand. You recast it because you made treasures, and you repeat. You make infinite mana. or infinite treasures, and then same thing, combine it with a damage dealer, does the same thing. You can do it with Astronaut's Altar and Persistent Specimen. You sacrifice the specimen to altar, you get the 2, you get the treasure when you pay to bring it back, and that makes your black, so you essentially can just do that over and over. As you said with Tortured Existence, it's the same thing. You pay, you discard a card, you bring another card back, and then you get the treasure, you sack the treasure to do it again, and you just loop the same 2 creatures back and forth. If they have an ETB on them, that's bonus points, but otherwise, you're still going to just be getting some sort of damage outlet on the board to make that work. And then this one is the Kheru plus the Sky Swimmer Koi, and then the Golgari Brown Scale, which you were already talking about or alluding to earlier. That's a real easy, if you have a draw, you can dredge it, and then you gain infinite life, I think, and then also could potentially be killing the table. But in this case, artifact enters, so your treasure off casting something or having something exit, whatever. You get to draw a card off the Koi, and then with the brown scare in the grave, you can just trigger the dredge and get it back instead. And then you get the treasure token, and the second part of the Koi's ability will allow you to discard the dredge creature, so it just makes another loop. So they're all kind of the same thing, but it's kind of like a toolbox. I could see where you could turbo into some of the wins that you have available just because of all the tutors and things. But I could also see where you could play this more mid-rangey and toolboxy and just kind of like sit back, play a more controlling game, and dig for your combo pieces and then win. I built both decks in kind of a similar fashion in that regard, so it's probably why I liked both of them. I saw this one and I was like, oh, this is cool, and then I saw the new one and it was like, oh, it's like the same thing, I just don't have black, but, it feels similar enough. So that's kind of where I was at with it. I can see where your thought process went a different route. Would you say that your list, when you first brewed it, was closer to mine or closer to where you're at now?
Ooh, that's a hard one. Yeah, 13 different variants. I'll be honest with you. I believe, if my memory serves me correct, I literally was in a group call with a bunch of people, all people that I trust with their deck building skills. So a few of the good members that we have online.
Yeah.
Stein, Potestis, a few others. And I literally did what they told me to do. I did not give any kickback. They said, put these cards together, do this. And I said, okay. Whatever they told me to do, I did it.
Work.
And we tried it and it failed. And it's not that they don't know how to build decks, so please don't interpret that from what I'm saying. Yeah. I was just, whatever they were willing to give me as feedback, I just straight accepted it. And I literally just said, okay, that card's in the deck, play this card. Try it, see if it works, move forward. That's what I did, because this deck because it's 3 colors and we don't have a lot of this in the format, it's very hard to figure out what you should and should not do. I mean, what my original list had Brute Scale, because Tess is this big 60 card player. He was like, yeah, just try the Brute Scale, try the Deadly Dispute.
I mean, we were already running it in Sivirus, so I saw the potential.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, exactly. But those are completely different decks.
I agree, but I was building it from that lens of kind of grindy mid range that's just drawing cards and has a lot of abilities to tutor to get win pieces. So arguably better Sivirus. That was my thought process.
Yeah, because the joke I was making when Gator and everyone was working on the deck, I was like, no, Gator's trying to build this as Sivirus splashing blue, but you actually have to build it as Dimir splashing green.
Yeah, and I would say my deck is probably more. I mean, if we look, I can look at your curves. Yours is mono blue. It's 46% blue, 25% black, and 7% green. Whereas mine is Simic Splash Black. It's 42% blue, 30% green, and 20% black. So we definitely approached it a little differently. That's why it's so funny. I didn't think about this when I was talking about doing this as an episode, but it's hilarious to me now looking at it that 2 months ago, I basically built the same deck with 3 colors, and then the new card came out, and I built the same deck, but without black. It's just fucking funny. I build shit in such a similar way all the time.
It's really unique, man, because I really think that Kheru has a place in the meta.
I think it does
too. As weird
too.
as it is, I've slowly given up on it. So you said something earlier, and I have to point this out because a lot of people have said this. And I have to push back on this incredibly because I just think it's entirely a false statement. In fact, I don't think you can at all. And if a player doesn't, I'd be like, good for you. That's the stone cold nuts. Good job. and then just move on from it, which is as a turbo list or as a list that could, quote, win on turn 4. Bring me the numbers, guys. Put it down in the comments below. Bring it to me. This is 3 colors. You need to have the availability to play untapped lands in our format. That's not feasible. Our commander, triple pip, colorless, you'll be like, oh yeah, I just curved that out. Okay, that means every single land you've played prior to turn 4 has been untapped as well, to be able to try to show me a turn 4 win. And if you go, well, I could do it turn 5, your cards to win with are Ashnod's black card, Tortured Existence, black card, black mana. Then you need the other cards are like a double blue pip. Like the deck just pulls itself in opposing directions with the pips.
Yeah, and that's been the trouble with 3-color in this format forever. We got a little bit of it in New Capenna, and there was maybe a handful of things before that, but there was New Capenna, and then now this set had introduced some more 3-color commons that were actually playable.
I will say that pretty much any 3-color that's black X will probably just be the best because all the swamp cyclers are just busted.
This being Dimir colors means all the tutors, so I can see plenty of card draw as well, plenty of selection, plenty of removal, plenty of interaction. Well, you have all of that, but you have to pick and choose in 99
hang
cards.
On, that's the other problem with the deck. You just said it again. You have all of the tutors. I thought that was the selling point. That was like the main reason I even played it. That's
what was that? There was that other one that Dimir list that has the commander that tutors stuff.
Disciple of the Seat.
Yeah.
And then that was kind of like where I thought of this one too. It was like, it's not that, but it's kind of like you do have all these tutors. So
ironically, that's actually why I think that card's not good either. Because what ends up happening is you play a game, and we don't have demonic tutor in this format, right? So what ends up happening is I go, I'm gonna transmute Perplex, and then your opponents go, what are you getting? And you're like, Ashnod's Altar. They're like, yeah, get ready to get.
You do have to kind of, unfortunately, have to kind of show your hand as you're doing things. And that's where I thought maybe having the counter magic to protect yourself more than trying to table police. I wasn't looking at this as grindy mid-range control. I was looking at more proactive mid-range, like we built Sivris, where it was like you're actively doing things. And that's where I included some of those cards too, where it was like, okay, Kheru comes down a little earlier, and you do some of those other cards like the Wasteful Harvest. Like I tried to include some of those cards to just be like, okay, I'm playing Kheru out, and people are like, unfortunately, you've been playing it, other people have been playing it, so maybe people are scared of it, and maybe it is a thing that just gets removed. But I was thinking, okay, we put in enough of these fetch lands and other ways to fix your mana, so you get it out kind of early. And it's not a threat necessarily because you're not doing anything with it. If you don't have any other pieces, it's like somebody playing an early Gretchen. Gretchen's not the threat. Like killing the Gretchen, who gives a fuck? They're just going to recast it. I realize this is a higher mana cost, etc. But point being, like, you could play it out and cast some of these other spells that are going to give you the value of just getting extra treasures. And once you get a nice little base of that, then you're like, okay, now I drew into this tutor, and now, yes, I'm showing you, but I have this excess mana. So yeah, I'm going to play this, and then when you try to counter it, I'm going to counter your shit, or I'm going to have the interaction to stop you from fucking with me, and then I'm going to go ham and win the game. That's basically what I did with the Biomechan Engineer on the stream. It was like, I sat there, did nothing, built up resources, and then was just like, okay, I'm going to tutor for this thing, and you guys were like, uh-oh. And then I went and got freed, and you're like, uh-oh. And then I played it, and everyone was like, I ain't got nothing. And it was like, sorry, I win. So I felt like you could do the same sort of thing with this.
To be honest, you can't, right? Because this requires tutor for Tortured Existence. Okay. Most people go, it just wins with Tortured Existence, right? To be fair, that's what most people think. Yeah. I also thought the same way. I was like, I go get it, play it, haha, I win. There's one huge caveat. You need a creature in the yard, and you need a creature in your hand.
And that's why it's not the only win.
Yeah, but most people think that's easy to do. That's not easy to do. You
not necessarily.
Have a creature in the yard, and you need one.
But that's also where
in the time where you play your.
That's also where my point shines, is that if you are just casting him and then casting some of these other spells that are milling cards, you're gonna have. That's why I thought the milling was good, and also bringing the card back to give you the treasure. So you're just ramping yourself. You're putting shit in the yard that you may be able to bring back later, and then on that turn where you do have a bunch of mana, you have the Tortured Existence in hand, or you go tutor for it, you play it, you start the loop. And people are like, okay, counter the Tortured. You're like, nope, counter your shit. And then nobody's got nothing. Boom, you win. Now, granted, that's all well and good. It doesn't always happen that way, and there's going to be plenty of times where you're going to get shut down. But then it's like, if you include 3 or 4 other ways to do the same thing. I mean, I had the multitude of the pingers, and then the multitude of the tutors, and then the multitude of, everything else, as far as interaction and stuff goes, to protect yourself. I felt like that was enough to do it. But you've played it, so you know better than I do, because I that was just theory crafting.
Yeah, because then, in my testing, I had so many games where, I have the creature in the yard and 0 creatures in hand. I'm like, cool, this Torch Existence is literally not doing anything. It is miserable.
I had that problem with Cypress. Countless times I had Tordex in my hand and just didn't have any creatures in the yard, or I didn't have anything to do with it, because people just gave me the creatures, or I was milling, lands off Cypress, and then you can have your lands, so nothing's in the graveyard, and you're just having one of those games. It's going to happen. But my approach to it was less turbo. I actually had a conversation with one of the RC guys, Scarecrow, aka Paul. We have conversations every once in a while because he's local to me, so we chat about real life shit and then also Magic. I don't remember how the conversation came up, but it came to a point where I was he had asked if there's anything I've been brewing lately or whatever, and I told him I had brewed Kheru. And he was like, "Oh, interesting." And I showed him the list, and he was like, "Wow, this is a different take on it," because he was like, everybody's trying to turbo and make it happen to where you were saying, the nuts and win on turn 4 and woo, yeah, it's a turn 2 or turn 1 ad nauseam in CDH, it happens, but it doesn't happen every time you play. Most of the time it's turn 6 or you never even see your ad nauseam, He was just saying that he thought it was interesting to have it be more of a mid-range, proactive, grindy, whatever the fuck you want to call it kind of list. And I was just pulling experience from having played Cypress and then enjoying these colors in this format and yada yada. So looking at your list, I can see your direction. I don't think I would want to play it quite so mono blue, but I can see where I maybe could make some changes already just based off of cards that have been printed since, and then also just cards we've discussed today. But like I said, I haven't even played it. So at some point, I would like to play it, and then maybe I could provide more feedback.
I mean, deck good, deck playable, deck slug. That's my simplistic terminology.
And I looked at it that way too. Is that as a 3-color deck, you're probably not going to go fast. So why build it to be fast? It's counterintuitive in this format in a sense, because just the sheer amount of effort you have to go through to make sure that you have your colors and then have all the pips to be able to do all the things you need to do in a turn to win. Even though the combos are simple, it's you have to have the setup. But in that regard, so does Gretchen and everybody else. Gretchen needs to have the land untapper out. It has to have the auras on the land, and then it has to have Gretchen, and then it has to create the infinite mana and do the loop and do the thing. If you view this in that same regard, don't look at it as I'm going to win on turn 4. Look at it as you're going to win on turn 7 or 8. And that's fine. And if you're looking at it from that lens, you have the time to play out these fetch lands that are going to color fix you. You have the time to play out your commander and play a couple of value spells that are going to get you those treasures that are going to allow you to have interaction up when you need it, and or prepare more wholly for your combo turn. You're going to tutor pieces, people are going to see them. That's every card in this format that can tutor, pretty much. I don't think there's any hidden tutors in the format. When it comes to that, having to reveal your tutor target is not a thing that we have the luxury of avoiding. So it's accept it and just protect yourself. So I don't know. I think that there may be a middle ground in there where between the ideas that everybody's explored and where I was at a couple months ago, there might be some middle ground there where this could be good. But is it going to win any tournaments anytime soon? Who knows? It probably needs more testing and honing. But you'd have more of the final say on that than I would.
I like the direction that mine is in, I'm not going to lie. The thing I've ran into every single list is the same thing I had with Raph and a few of the other commanders I've played. Every time I fix a problem, I introduce another problem. I did personally believe that I fixed all of the problems thus far, but once again, can I get the nuts? Yeah. Archaeomancer, Prayer Drake, Natural, of course, that's possible. But is that consistent? No. The consistency of doing the thing is turn 8, turn 7 at best. And sometimes you need to see one half and then hunt for that other half, and draws depend if you change directions, and it's very difficult. I would definitely be more inclined to recommend somebody the Biomechan over Kheru for sure, because I think it just has a higher floor.
It's the 2-color versus 3-color thing. I think it's going to be a problem for a while longer. I mean, you guys made that video about, the Spider-Man common legendaries, like, why can't they be legal as commanders and yada yada. If they open up stuff like that at some point, or we just keep getting more stuff printed, that's how it always is. This deck might, sit on the sidelines for a while, and then, this and others like Rocco and, anything else that people have tried to break that are 3-color that just can't seem to like get over that hump. I think a few more lands that get printed, a few more, fetchable things, a few more lands that come in untapped. There's going to be some stuff, but we'll see. Maybe we can revisit on tier lists in the future or something, see where they're at. I'm excited to see where Biomechan ends up on that tier list the next time you guys do it, but I think that's pretty much all we had here. I'll get this edited up and posted soonish. Once again, thanks to the Common Theory guys for joining me on this episode. Hoping to get back in the swing of things. We've already been doing the live streams and the edited gameplay. I've done a couple podcast things, yada yada. So getting back in the swing of things. So this will be, hopefully I can get a couple of these out a month just to talk about Pauper, because I do so love it. Any closing thoughts, gentlemen?
Just again, thank you, Izlain, for having us. I really appreciate it every time.
Of course. Keep spreading the good word. Those of you guys that are watching, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you think that we got something wrong, let us know. If you think that there's some spicy tech for either of these decks that we're totally overlooking, please let us know. And if you do play the deck, or either deck, and you have feedback or want to share your experience, of course, do so as well. I have a Patreon as well. Still trying to, trying to get that extra side hustle money. You know how it is. America's not in the greatest of places. And if you don't do it here, you can always do it with these guys. Their Patreon money goes towards my editing expense. So much love. Everybody have a good one. We'll see you soonish. Take care.